Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about preparing for the CCS, or the Certified Coding Specialist exam. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So if you are preparing for this exam with the American Health Information Management Association, a lot of people have been writing in and saying, Blue, I'm about to start studying for my exam. Where do I begin? What should I start studying? The thing that you have to know is this, guys. If you have been studying throughout your program, or if you're doing the independent study, that's okay too. If you have been consistently working through and practicing and following some advice that I've given on my channel, you would know that when it comes time for you to start preparing for your exam, you're going to be very ready. Because the bulk of this exam, the CCS, which is the Mastery Medical Coding Certification, the bulk of it is your coding knowledge and skill. So if you've been working through your workbooks and you've been covering up, like if they have multiple choice answers, if you've been covering those up, and looking up the codes by yourself, and you've been getting them correct, you will be on the right track to being very confident to sit for this exam. Now, a lot of this information I'm going to be talking about today literally comes from the AHIMA website. That's ahima.org, ahima.org. And looking here is your first stop. You should not be asking what books do you need, because the books are listed on a list on the website, the approved books. And I've talked about the Optum books before, the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS books. Those are allowed for this exam. The AMA CPT Professional Edition is the one that we all have to have. You cannot use the Optum CP, they have the current procedural coding expert. You cannot use that. You cannot use the Optum version on that exam. So that's something that you have to know. But again, if you're going to the website and you're doing your research, then you'll be able to have something that you can look at concrete instead of asking everyone, what books do you need? Okay, that should not be something that you're asking, all right? Coders have to know how to do their research, and looking on the website is the first thing, because it's a nice list. It's got all the ISBN numbers on it and everything. So it'll tell you if the book that you have is approved. But like I said, anytime I've demonstrated the books on my channel, I tell you guys that this is approved for the exams, because I've used these books when I've taken my test. So I just want to put that out there. But AHIMA does have some preparation modules on their website that you can purchase, certainly. And if you want to do that, if you want to get the CCS prep book, I mean, these things are just supplementary. You have everything that you already need if you've been using the workbooks, like I've been advising. I advise to use the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS coding handbook with the answers by Nellie Leon Chizen. This book is very comprehensive, and it covers all of the diagnosis coding and the inpatient procedure coding, okay? And it gives you lots of really good comprehensive scenarios, which is great. And it has scenarios that are not multiple choice, which is even better when you're studying. You should not be depending on multiple choice when you are studying. Even though it's there, you need to cover up those answers, okay? Because like I said, when you're in that test and you're flipping through your books because you already know where to go, that's going to be the best thing for you. Because you have roughly 2 minutes per question. It's a little bit more. It's like 2 minutes, 20 seconds now, I think, per question. But that's still not a lot of time when you're trying to get through all of the questions, okay? Because the exam is broken up into two parts, multiple choice and the case studies. And if you are working through those case studies, you're going to need time to look through those. But we'll get to that here in a minute. But I just wanted to say that by the time you sit for this exam, you should not be asking the question, how do I prepare? Because you have already been preparing the whole way through your program or your independent study, okay? And if you feel like you didn't learn as much as you should have with your program, you can certainly use my independent study that's going to be in the description box below. No, it is not on a PDF. It is literally in the description box, spelled all out. And it's got links to the Amazon products. These are affiliate links. You do not have to click on them because the title is there. So if you want to go on your own, but if you click on them, I appreciate it because I get a small commission if you do. Now, again, the thing is, you can follow that independent study guide if you want to, because like I said, it does help to fill in some of those gaps. In addition to the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS coding handbook with the answers, you're also going to use the CPC study guide. Now, before you tell me, well, Blue, I'm taking the CCS exam, not the CPC. I'm not telling you to take the CPC. What I am telling you is that the CPC study guide is an excellent book for covering the CPT side of the test. Because again, this exam is going to say that you have the mastery of inpatient coding and outpatient coding. So you must know how to use the ICD-10-CM manual, the CPT manual, and the ICD-10-PCS manual, okay, for this exam. But that everybody uses the same CPT code set. So just because it says CPC study guide on the cover does not mean that you can't use it to help you to study for that CPT side, okay? I like the way AAPC did it. I am not with AAPC. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. And I'm certified with AHIMA, and I still recommend that book, okay? I recommend that book over a lot of the other books that are out there, all right? Only because of its straightforwardness. I like the way it's written. There's a couple of the codes I don't agree with, but that's okay. For the most part, it's still a really good book to practice with. If you are working through both of those books, and if you have the Optum ICD-10 PCS spiral bound book, you will see in the back of that book, in the appendix M, like in Mary, they have a whole list of 388 procedures that you can look up. As you go through that chapter, right, or that appendix, you will also see they have the answer key, the full answer key for those 388 procedures. As I've said, if you've gone through those two workbooks, the Nelly book and the CPC study guide, plus you go through the 388 procedures and you code them all, you will be ready. That's the bulk of your exam, which is the bulk of it is going to be your coding knowledge and skill, okay? And you putting in the time to practice that is going to help you more than you spending all this money trying to, take this prep program and this module and this test and all this and all that. It's no, y'all are doing too much. Some of y'all are just doing too much. And for some of you, I needed it, it helped me and it worked. Okay, well, great for you. But then there's still a lot of people that it doesn't help because, again, they're trying to just guess their way through a test, and you can't do that, especially on the CCS, because, again, it's the mastery, okay? You should not be guessing your way. You should not be trying to do these process of elimination tactics, which I can't stand. Process of elimination you should only do very sparingly, and only because it's a timed exam. And if you don't understand a particular subject and you say, well, I'm good with everything else, but maybe I struggle with cardio, let me look at the codes that are here and then let me decide which one is the best fit for this scenario. And then that's how you get through that, okay? But if you're trying to do that the whole way through, you're going to find yourself, there's a very good chance you're going to fail that test, okay? And these tests are too expensive for you to just be failing and taking again and again, okay? That, again, is ridiculous, too, because, again, if you've been putting in the practice time, and practice time meaning 20 hours per week, you're going to be all set up for success. If you have been diligently studying throughout your program, let's just say, for example, you've taken the independent study and you have practiced it the whole way through, and now you're at the end of the 11 months. Because if you go through my independent study, again, it's in the description box below, you will take about 11 months to get through it. You should be practicing for at least a couple of weeks. Of course, schedule your exam and then get it, and then study up until that time. But you study 20 hours per week as well, right before your test. And that's going to lay a good foundation for you to be confident. And especially if you've been working with these books, okay? But AHIMA does offer some prep classes for the CCS. If you want to take it, fine. But it's up to you. It's your choice, whatever you want to do. But again, as I've said, if you've been practicing, that's not going to be anything else for you to do, right? So let's talk about the exam specifications. The total number of questions on the exam is 107. There are 97 scored items and 10 pretest items. Each exam includes scored questions and pretest questions randomly distributed throughout the exam. Each exam includes scored questions and pretest questions randomly distributed throughout the exam. Pretest questions are for data collection purposes and they do not count towards the candidate's score. The time allowed, candidates have 4 hours to complete the exam. Resources required, as I've said about the time, but let me read this here. 2024 books will go into effect May 1st, 2024. All exams delivered on or after May 1st, 2024 will require the 2024 books from the 2024 book list. On test day, all candidates must bring the correct code books to the test center. Candidates who do not have the correct books will not be allowed to take the test and will forfeit their exam fees. View the 2024 list of required code books for the CCS exam. And again, as I've said, I'm looking at this right now. And it says all candidates are required to bring the following 3 books to the test center. 1 ICD-10-CM Code Book 2024 from the approved list below. And as I've said, we're in January 2025. You have all the way till the end of April 2025 to use the 2024 editions of these books. So it says required 1 ICD-10-CM Code Book from the approved list below for 2024, 1 ICD-10-PCS Code Book 2024 from the approved list below, and the American Medical Association, the AMA CPT Professional Edition, and it gives the ISBN number for that. So we have to have these 3 books when you're taking the CCS exam. Everybody uses the AMA CPT Professional Edition. Everybody uses it, okay? So from now, January 2025 till the end of April 2025, you are using the 2024 editions of these books. Once May 1st hits, that's when AHIMA rolls over into their 2025 or the current year versions of these books, because that's when the tests update. So that's something that you ought to know here. And it says the ICD-10-CM Code Book, the publisher, it lists all of the ISBN numbers plus the publisher, AHIMA, AMA, Elsevier, Optum, AAPC, the Decision Health book, and the PMIC book as well. So all of these are listed in the ISBN numbers are there. The ICD-10 PCS code books that are approved, the AHIMA books, the AMA, Elsevier, Optum 360, AAPC, Decision Health, and PMIC. And then the CPT book is the AMA CPT Professional Edition, and it gives you the ISBN number for that as well. So that is the whole list of all the books. I'm not going to run through all the titles because you guys can look on the website and see the approved books, okay? Now, let's go over the domains, because a lot of people are saying, well, where do I start? How do I start? Again, if you've been working with the workbooks, you're just working with the workbooks. And so that's you're going to use to practice and go through all of those scenarios so that way you can get that practice in. Because a lot of people will try to get the CCS exam prep book. Some people have depended on that book so much that they say, okay, well, I memorized all of those questions and answers and I'm ready to take the test. Well, guess what? They failed because none of those questions are on the test. I'm the one who gets the angry emails from the people who fail doing that method. Now, why did you think that there would be test questions that came from the practice book? I have no idea, because then everybody could pass, and there would be no way for the association to gauge anybody's intelligence when it comes to this coding stuff. So think about that, you know. But let's talk about domain 1, coding, knowledge, and skill. Again, this is the bulk of the test, 39 to 41%. You're going to be assigning diagnosis and procedure codes based on the provider's documentation, identify principal or first listed diagnosis, apply coding conventions, guidelines, and regulatory guidance, and then attach CPT HCPCS modifiers to outpatient procedures, determine appropriate sequencing of diagnosis and procedures, apply present on admission, guidelines, and then demonstrate knowledge of coding edits, NCCI, and medical necessity. Demonstrate knowledge of reimbursement methodologies, DRG, APCs. Abstract applicable data in the health record, and then identify major complication, comorbidity, and comorbid conditions. So if you understand all of those things and you can tell me what these things are, again, that's saying that you have a good grasp of that domain, okay? If you can tell me what APCs are, if you can tell me what DRGs are, when does it apply, if you can tell me about present on admission, if you can tell me about the sequencing, and again, some of these things are going to be in your coding guidelines. And if you've been listening to me when I tell you guys to read the coding guidelines once per week in their entirety, you know how much fussing I get from people who do that? But then on the other side, I get the people who tell me, thank you, Blue, for telling me to read the coding guidelines, because that really did help me with the test. You have the book with you during the test, so it's not necessary to memorize, but it is necessary to read the coding guidelines, because when you do read the coding guidelines, it will tell you about sequencing. It will tell you about all of these things. So that's the thing that you need to know about those guidelines. Don't underestimate knowing your coding guidelines. And then domain 2, which is 18 to 22% of the test, is coding documentation. So this domain covers resolving conflicting documentation in the health record, like admission type or laterality. Ensure all required documentation for assigning a specific code is available within the body of the health record, and then verify and validate documentation within the health record. That's that. Domain 3 is provider queries. This is a very small portion of this test, but it covers 9 to 11% of the test. And then it says identify elements of an ethical compliant query. There's lots of white papers out there about compliant queries. All you have to do is let your fingers do the walking, guys. That's it. Okay. Determine if a provider query is compliant, meaning that it's non-leading, contains appropriate clinical indicators, okay, because that's why you do those queries, is because you have evidence that maybe there's something that's incomplete here, or something that is conflicting here, and you need to tell them about it and like ask them, okay, what is it that you're trying to say? You can't lead them. You can't do that, okay? You can't lead the witness. And then analyze current documentation and identify query opportunities. All right, that's what you're going to be doing in domain 3. And again, these domains are all mixed up throughout your test. Regulatory compliance is 18 to 22%. Ensure completeness and accuracy of health records. If you've been practicing, you're going to know what a complete and accurate health record is going to look like. Okay. Understand payer-specific guidelines. Okay, there are certain things that Medicare will allow, and commercial insurance won't. You know what I mean? Like there's differences in some of those policies, and so that's just something that you have to have a general understanding of. Okay, don't panic. It's just a general understanding. All right, and then understand. Okay, identify patient safety indicators. If you don't know what PSIs are, look it up. Google is there. There's plenty of information out there to help you, all right? And hospital-acquired conditions, again, another thing that you can look up based on the provider's documentation. Ensure compliance with HIPAA guidelines. There's lots of HIPAA channels on YouTube. If you didn't get a lot of training about HIPAA in your program, which you should have, but if you didn't, that's something else you can look up on YouTube and listen to, all right? Ensure adherence to the AHIMA standards of ethical coding. Anybody can look those up, all right? Ensure compliance with the Uniform Hospital Discharge Data Set. If you don't know about the UHDDS, again, let your fingers do the walking. And then domain 5, we have information technologies, like another small portion, and this is going to be 9 to 11% of this test. Distinguish various types of electronic health records. Demonstrate a basic understanding of encoding and grouper software. Okay, everybody knows what an encoder is. That's the electronic code book, all right? Exhibit an understanding of computer-assisted coding software and its impact on coding, and then ensure compliance with high-tech guidelines. If you don't know what high tech is, you need to be looking that up too. And then for the second portion of this exam, which is your scenarios, your medical scenarios, you have 33.3% of those are going to be inpatient procedures and medical scenarios. 33.3% of those are going to be outpatient medical scenarios. And then you're going to have the emergency department, 33.3%. So if you're practicing, again, the Nelly book has those ER scenarios in it, okay? It's just covering like the diagnosis portion, obviously. But if you're looking again at the CPC study guide, that's going to give you that outpatient side of what is happening in the ER, some scenarios there. There's lots of resources out there that can help you guys. But the thing about it is just letting your fingers do the walking. If you look on this domain list, again, this is available on the HEMA website. If you look at this domain list and you see that there's something on there that you just don't understand, first of all, look at how much is that going to impact your ability to pass this test. There are some domains on here that have greater weight than others. So again, if you know that you are not practicing with the coding as much as you should be, but maybe you really understand physician queries, think about this. The coding knowledge and skill is going to be weighted more heavily than the provider queries. Not that you shouldn't know how to do provider queries, because at this point you should already know how to do provider queries. But what I'm saying is, if you really understand this, but you don't understand the bulk of this test, where do we need to be studying? You've already got the physician queries down. Let's work on the coding knowledge and skill. And how do you do that? By practicing with the workbook. Again, you can use the CCS exam prep guide, but too many people rely so heavily on it thinking that this is exactly what's on the test, and it's not. So again, if you are looking through the list and you see something on there that you just don't understand, that's where you really need to concentrate and study. And if you are studying 20 hours per week up until your test, again, this is going to help you a lot better. You are going to have so much more time in that you've been working on this, that it's not going to make you freak out at the last minute, because you will be more confident. The people who are studying like they're supposed to and not trying to cram all the way up until the end of the time, right? Those are the people that are going to be more confident if you've been studying like you're supposed to. If you've been covering up the answers and you can identify the codes on your own. Because think about that, guys. If you're covering up the answers, right, and you've been looking up the codes on your own, and then you go into this multiple choice test, right? And then you're like, oh, I know where I should be for this. I know where I got to be for this. I know where I got to be for this. And the answers are going to come a little bit more easier to you, okay? Don't rely on the little cutting corners ways, because that's never going to be a good thing. That's never going to be a good thing. I don't even talk about the shortcut things like that on my channel, because I don't want to encourage people to be lazy when it comes to looking up codes or understanding what they're doing. Again, the more that you work with the guidelines, the more that you work with the coding manuals, the more that you work with the books, the better off you'll be. And the other thing I will say is this: the website also encourages you to read the candidate handbook, right, for the exam. In that candidate handbook, it does say that you cannot have tabs and you cannot have excessive writing in your books. Remember, you're going to Pearson VUE. These people are going to inspect these books. If you're wearing glasses, they're going to make you take them off. It's very particular when you get into this environment, because I want to make sure that you're not trying to cheat, okay? And if you have excessive writing, they can deny you entry. Now, you have no business writing in your coding manuals, because these are reference books. These are meant to be looked at and referenced through. They're written by doctors and scholars. What do you have that you could possibly put in there that's not already in there, right? So don't write, don't tab, don't highlight. People who do the ridiculous circle method on the CPT procedure codes, really? You need a circle because you can't identify an indentation? That doesn't make sense to me. So don't do that either. Again, because they're going to be looking at these and you don't want to be showing up there and being like, well, yes, this is my book. And they're like, this is written in too much. We're going to have to send you away, you know? So again, don't do that to yourself. If you've been practicing like you're supposed to, you will not have these problems. Don't tab those books, guys. Those tabs get in the way. They get in the way. And I will say it every time. I don't care who gets upset. I always get somebody who thinks they know more. Again, if you're reading the candidate handbook, it does say you cannot have handmade tabs. But if the tabs came with the book, you can use them. I still don't recommend it anytime I've done the demonstration, because I get harangued into doing the demonstration on how to put the tabs on the CPT manual. If you do that and you say it makes you feel better, you think you can maneuver it faster, you still have to look at the tabs, you still have to flip to where you got to go. Again, if you are using the book like you're supposed to and practicing with it, you'll be able to go by feel. Literally by feel. I've done that. I've had my coding books with me right in front of the providers, and then they say, well, let's talk about this procedure code, and I'll open right to it. And that's happened more than once. And it's scary, the number of times that has happened. They go, how did you do that? You had the bookmark? No, it was not. And they're like, how did you do that? I said, it just comes by feel after a while. You kind of know where to go. And sometimes like I'll be like within just a few pages of where I've got to be. And it's pretty cool, but it's because I work with the book, and you can get like that too. I believe in that for anybody. But yeah, so that is how to prepare. Work with the workbooks, guys. You don't need all these fancy workshops and all these other things. If you're doing what you're supposed to, that's going to be good enough. Okay. Get proper rest before you take your exam. There's no need in stressing yourself out and staying awake and doing all these things when you could be resting and working and being diligent with your studies. 3.5 hours per day for 5 days a week, and then 2.5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. Anybody can do that, guys. And again, that will make sure that you are prepared and your brain has enough time to process all of the material that you're looking at, because it is a lot. Okay. If you're, when you go to take your test, make sure that you eat, not something heavy, but it's something enough to hold you over till you finish your test, because 4 hours is a long time. And you're going to be hungry when you leave out of there. You cannot bring any food with you. You cannot bring water. You cannot bring none of that. Okay. There's no bathroom breaks. Those are counted against you. If you need a bathroom break, absolutely, the clock will still be running. But every minute counts, guys. Every minute counts. So trust me, the time goes by so fast, you don't have time to think about the bathroom. You really don't, you know. But that's my advice anyway. So study, read over the coding guidelines, practice, because nothing will beat practicing. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.